Welcome! Come on in to our workshop. My name's Zoe Murphy and I'm a furniture and textile designer from Margate, and my job is to screen print onto furniture. I make colourful and bright and Margate and seaside inspired furniture and textile pieces in my studio. I have a side business called Margate Girl, where every month I create kits and workshops for people to take part in, to get really creative themselves and join in a bit of my production with me. I wanted to make sure that this Christmas was an especially decadent, cheerful, colourful, entertaining and thrifty one for everyone, not just myself. So I've teamed up with Turner Contemporary, my favourite gallery in the world, not just in Margate, and luckily for me, it's just around the corner from my studio. So we've paired up this Christmas to create this workshop that you're part of tonight, where we're going to be making decorative, decadent and gorgeous looking charms. All of the crafts that you can do from these kits are also possible to do with things from all around your house and the supermarket as well. And that was quite important for me to organise this Christmas, because as well as making it cheerful and fun, I also wanted to instill a bit of that Margate hardiness in everyone as well, and remind you guys that although things might be really tough, with creativity and enthusiasm, we can make something beautiful and encouraging out of every situation. So the very first thing we're going to learn tonight is how to make origami paper baubles. So the first thing you're going to need from your kit is some colourful paper. You're also going to need a pair of scissors, I've got mine to hand, and you're going to need some sticky tape as well. We're going to use the double-sided for this. The first thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that we start with a square of paper. To turn one of these into a square, you just need to do a little bit of folding. So we fold our piece of paper over into a nice triangle, and we're going to cut off this excess, we don't need it. Now whichever side that you're looking at when you've done your folding, your first fold, that's the side that the colour is going to show. So now I'm going to fold it the other way, like so. So I folded it, I've got the triangle facing away from me, and I folded it one way and then I folded the other. Now I'm going to do a cool little bit of folding where I put my hand in there, I'm going to press down the other side, and you're going to push the paper back onto itself to make a kind of square like that. Okay, so I'll just do that process again. I put my hand in there and pushed one side of my triangle over onto the other side and then flattened it out, and I've made sure my crease is following along with the crease on the inside as well. So I folded that nice and flat, and then I'm going to take this side and make the point meet its kind of relative point over here. So I'm folding it back on itself. Okay, if I do that action one more time, because, and I'm showing you this a couple of times, we are going to do this particular action quite a bit, so it's good to get used to it. So I'm putting my hand inside, folding it over like that, and then pushing it back on itself to make a lovely smaller triangle that's kind of facing the other way. All right, now I'm going to repeat that step by pushing that this way, making half of it fold onto the other side, pressing that flat, and then folding it back on itself. All right, that's our first stage. You can see, hopefully yours will look a little bit like that. And now, the second step, we need to make sure that our open end of our folded piece of origami is facing away from us. I'm going to take each corner, each sort of side corner here, the furthest point on the piece, and I'm going to fold that in to meet the center fold, like so. I'm making a bit of a kite shape, if you want to imagine it like that. If I turn it around, this is what you should be able to see. So I'm making a bit of a kite shape, and I'm going to do that on the other side as well. And now I'll flip it over and do exactly the same on the other side. So I folded it in on one side, flipped it over, folded it in again. And like I said, remember to keep your open ends pointing away from you because they're the bits we're going to chop off now. So we're going to do a little slice all the way along here to get rid of those triangles. Yours should look a little bit like this. And we're going to do that kind of folding out thing all over again. So I take these little leaves here, I open them out, and then once again, push my hand inside right down to the point and fold the piece back on itself like that. So it's looking like that. And then I fold it back to meet itself. So it's this kind of opening out that we do every time. We do it in the first instance and now we're doing it again. We open this out, get those creases going the other way, push it down like that, and then correct that by folding it back on itself again. It means that when you've started with kind of one sleeve or one leaf, you've now got two for every one. You start on the front and then as usual, you flip it over and you do the same on the other side again. So these pieces, we're going to open them out. Get your hand up inside to open those leaves out, push it over onto its opposing side, flatten it out, and then fold it back again. Okay, we'll try one more time over here. I'd say this is probably the most complicated craft in the whole kit. So if you're managing this, well done, you're doing really well. Just folding that back. And now I'm going to do another one of those kite shapes again. A bit more of a diamond really, but I'm going to take each little flap, because I can't think of a better name than flaps, each little flap, and I'm going to push it down once again using the top edge to come down to meet the center fold. So I'm doing that each side, and what I find the easiest thing to do is I do two and then I push them back, and then I take another two and get them to meet the center. So I fold the top edge. Don't worry if it's not perfect or if yours starts to tear a little. I find these come together really, really well in the end, and they're very forgiving. So don't panic if yours feels a bit imprecise. There we go. So I'm folding inwards. This is my last one now. To meet the center, and then just for provenance, I'll fold it back out again. All right, so my shape looks a bit like this. I love the look of this. I was looking at this the other day and I thought, well, that's a cute decoration, and we haven't even got halfway through making our first one. So if you wanted to keep a nice diamond shape, you could hang some of those on the tree. But we're going to open this out instead. You see, so those folds didn't count for much apart from a dent in the paper, so you needn't worry too much. So we fold them all out and open it up, and you should have a really adorable star shape, kind of like big round origami flower. We're going to take each of these mini triangles on the very edge, all of these bits here, and we're going to fold them in. We're going to kind of indent them. So I'm pushing mine in like this each time, and I'm giving it a little pinch, kind of like really press them together, but I'm making sure they're all sort of indented. Okay, so you can see here from doing all of our lovely indents, we've now got half of a lovely little bauble shape. Nice, so there we go, we've got our two shapes. So you can see where we're going with this, right? This is now going to be something that we're going to fuse together. Look at that. Now this is the intimidating bit. This is the bit that scared me when I first started going, but I want to encourage you that they fit together really nicely, so don't worry. What we're going to do usually is probably pop a little bit of PVA glue in all of these, but I'm not going to use PVA tonight. I'm going to use some of this double-sided sticky tape because it's speedier and I'm going to be nice and prompt. So if you were making these using your PVA glue, what you would do is you'd put a little bit of glue using your paintbrush on maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. You could start with 4, you might go for 6. You'd let it dry just for maybe 30 seconds to get it sort of acclimatized to the air, a bit tacky, and then you would push them together like this and you sort of hold them like that. I'd hold a few at a time. And the heat of your fingers, within another 30 seconds or a minute, it's going to start to kind of bond the papers together in a way that means you can keep moving around. And then you paint up a few more. Maybe you just want to do one at a time, and you kind of pinch them together and hold them gently. Again, it's a really therapeutic thing. Like, it makes you feel, I don't know, really zen and really calm, and you're sort of slowly waiting for the glue to naturally dry. It's really lovely. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use sticky tape, so which I reckon probably a lot of you guys might like to do as well. Now, when I first started doing these for myself, I was putting sticky tape here and here all the way around. But I have found that quite often, if I'm not too fussed about mine being pressed together perfectly, and if I know they're going to be seen from a distance, like, I don't know, on a tutorial, I tend to just swipe one piece across like that, and I'll do it all, whoops, in one go. Now, I wanted to point something out to you guys, especially at the moment. If you look at this, with all the print on the outside and all the plain on the inside, and then the reverse being here, these actually can be left as they are to make really cute decorations as well. So I'm putting a little bit of tape all the way around in all of these gaps. I've stuck my double-sided tape all the way around, and I don't have to do it on this one because doing it onto this one is more than enough. Now, before I crack on with sticking these two together, once they're closed, they're not going to be able to open again. So I want to make sure that any way that I want to hang them is already organised. And also, if I want to put a little tassel on, I'm going to have to do that as well at the moment too. So I'm going to use this orange ribbon to poke through the top and use it to hang my decorations. And to do that, I'm just going to tie a knot and keep it kind of quite a big and generous knot. I might not make the loop too big though. I'm going to snip just a little bit off of the top there. Not too much, because then otherwise in fact, you probably want to go even smaller than the one I've done, so that my knot can kind of get caught up on the inside. And I'm going to turn my ribbon into a little point like that and push through the end. With my lovely pink nails. There we go. All right, so tug that through. If I wanted to, I might double secure this with another little piece of double-sided sticky tape. There we go. Our bottom half, I'm going to put a tassel coming out of the bottom of this now. So I'm going to grab one of the ones from the kit. This one needs a little bit of a trim, so we can take that off. He's grown in the box. And it's a similar sort of technique. I'm going to slice a bit from the bottom. It's always a bit of a wriggle getting these through. There we go. I've got my tassel through, and I'm pulling him right the way up to the bottom of my bauble so that it looks really, really neat. I'm going to tear that bit of sticky tape, sticking down, and then we're good to go. Pop that inside like that. Inside. All right, here we go. We're nearly done now with this. How fantastic is that? And look, it's just gelled together already. I haven't even stuck it, but it's so wanting to kind of meet up with its new partner. Oh, I love that. So now what we're going to do is we'll peel off the tape. I don't always tend to do the whole thing. I will do probably about 50% of it and then leave the other half. Actually, do you know what? I think I will do the whole thing. It's relatively small bauble, so I don't see it causing me a lot of problems when it's coming together. You saw how it did it just then. So I think in this case, actually, I'll unstick all of them and see how we get on. And now, one by one, I'm going to take those pointy parts, the corners, and I'm going to pop them in to meet the indented side of its kind of partner shape, like that. And I might press down like that. Or if you wanted to, you could kind of get your hands up inside and press down that way. I find that a bit trickier. Here we go. Oh, like that. It's firmer, but I find it's a bit of a job. So I tend to, oh, and watch they don't unfold. So I tend to do the whole sort of encouraging it and then just pinching very slightly. You don't want to do that too hard because you end up with kind of crushed edges. But if you go around and you can see once you've stuck one or two, using all my might, they start to kind of go into the places they're supposed to go anyway. And there we have it. So if I put my tape out of the way, one super cute bauble that I can hang on my tree in a minute. And just before we crack on with anything else, I'll show you guys some of the other ways that you can make these baubles that don't include just using the stuff from the kit. So this one's super cute. We've got our pink, we've got our green. It was lovely and easy, but when I've run out of some of these materials, especially like these lovely printed papers, what am I going to do? Well, I've got some options to show you. First of all, I'm going to hang this one on the tree. You could scribble some of your own decorative paper. You could use maybe some of the kids' drawings that are graduating from the kitchen fridge. I've used up all my pens on these, you know, when you're kind of testing the colours on things. Really cute, and if you kind of do them in different colours, you still get that dual colour thing going on. I think that's probably called like diachromatic or something. You could jazz up some of yours with some glitter. So here's one I made earlier, Blue Peter style, and I've covered it with glue and then dipped it in glitter before I put it together and put the tassel on. So nice and sparkly if you want to go really extra for your Christmas. These are all going on the tree. Really humble materials, like I've got one here using brown paper. If I use paper instead of card, there's always a risk it kind of like doesn't quite hold its shape and it's a bit more fiddly to make, but still works really well. And also, here's the one I'm using newspaper. So I went out, because I do not get this newspaper at home, and I bought myself a copy of the Financial Times because it's lovely salmon pink colour. So unconventional, right? But I was quite excited about the idea of using a pink newspaper for my Christmas decorations. And look at this, this is the kind of stuff that you might be chucking in the bin. Even using things like the insides of envelopes. When you open these up, just before you're throwing them away, take a look inside. And quite often, as a sort of data protection measure, they put all of these fantastic decorative patterns in that are great for doing these kind of baubles. This, teamed up with maybe some orange paper or maybe some of the brown paper, would be super cute. This kind of like Cornish blue colour. So it doesn't have to just be the stuff from the kit. You can use all sorts of other things as well. Let's move these out of the way. And even pausing halfway through to make something out of your half-made baubles can be really cool as well. So here I have done the, I've used the half-made bauble shapes and I've put a tiny little trimmed down tassel inside to make this really super cute flower design onto a present. And I think I just used the inside, you'll see here, I used the tail ends of the tassels to kind of anchor it to the ribbon. So I mean, you've seen how quick these are to make. Actually, that's like a really cute little, I don't know, like a lily shape or something. Or one of those huge, fantastic South African flowers. Really cool. There we go. We've got some decorative baubles going on. I've been able to furnish some of my tree, and I'm really happy with that. I think it's a great way to use up some old papers as well around the home. And here you can see that by changing the scale, I can get some really huge ones going on. Hit a little comment to let us know whether you think that that was really difficult, or did you love it? You're like, I'm a pro at this now. It was really easy, Zoe, don't worry. Next, we're going to do the pressed tin decorations. Grabbing myself a pencil. Shall I tell you what pencil I've got? I've got one that I gave to all of my subscribers to my Margate Girl kits. Every month they get their adorable little craft kits, and I know some of you guys have got them. And one month when we did a painting kit, I did a pencil that said, "You are good at art." And that's what I'm using tonight. So I like that, it's kind of encouraging. And it's what this stuff is all about. We don't do the crafts to make things and be good at decorating our houses. We do the crafts to feel good about ourselves, and I think that's really special. So you are good at art, Zoe. You are good at art, everybody else. Cool. All right, so the next thing we're going to do, now that I've started to decorate my tree, but we're going to do the whole thing tonight, my little pink tree that I got from a boot fair. Next, we're going to do some pressed tin decorations. Now, using the kind of metallic substrate that you've got in your kit, I'm going to pull that out of my big smorgasbord of things here. It's this stuff here. The pressed tin, the rolled tin or copper and aluminium that you've got in your kit, You want to be a little bit careful when you use this. We've supplied it in an envelope in your kits, but it can be a little bit sharp when you use it. I've not hurt myself at all making these kits, but if you know you've got these really lovely soft model hands, which I definitely don't have being a screen printer and furniture maker, you want to be a bit careful when you're using the tin, because once you've snipped it, it can have those sharp little edges. So you want to make sure that all the cuts that you do when you're cutting your shapes out, they're nice and smooth, and you're making sure that there's no little burrs for people to catch themselves on. You can always trace them by putting your design over the top of your tin and then using a very blunt pencil, something that's not too sharp because you might go through the paper, to draw over the paper and generate your design. Tonight I'm going to freestyle mine a little bit just because I want to show you guys how easy it is and how confident you can feel about doing that. I always work onto a piece of paper as well, or this card from the kit. I find that if I'm working using the pressed tin onto a very, very hard surface, I don't quite get the indentation that I want. So I tend to use something that has it'd surprise you, but even something like this piece of card has a little bit of give. So when I'm doing my drawings into my tin and pressing into the tin with my relatively blunt pencil, I'm going to be doing it onto this surface instead of the table alone. To start with, I need my scissors, I need my pressed tin, I need a piece of the cardboard, and I need something to draw around. You could use anything from, I don't know, like a lid from a jar, or you could use the inside of the roll of tape. In fact, I think I'm going to do that because I like that for a size. It's even smaller. So we'll use this as a bit of a guide. You should have 3 pieces of this tin in your kit, but if you be quite economical with your cutting out, you'll have loads of leftover pieces as well. So I always make sure I'm drawing really close to the edge of things. This is moving as I go. Okay, so I've used that as a guide and I've drawn around and I can see my circle now, and I'm going to take my pair of scissors and chop that out. And of course, if you are young enough to need a bit of supervision for using your scissors, make sure that you get mum and dad along to give you a hand with this. There we go. It's a really crisp sound. Now circles are great for this particular tutorial as well, because I find them to be like a really safe shape. You can get all the way round, we get a nice clean shape. I could use the guide from the kit to get myself a nice design on there, but I think I'm going to freestyle mine a bit. I've got one of these examples from earlier. Here's one I made earlier with my lovely little sun face in it and a little star down there. So I think I'm going to have a go at generating another one of these, and I'm going to use him as a little guide. So if I want my piece of tin to kind of be punched with a raised edge, I need to turn it over and be drawing onto this side. I'm going to take my relatively blunt pencil and start to map out whatever design I would like. Now, however hard I push into the tin, that's going to be what makes the cool shape. So you can see here, my pencil's still quite sharp in comparison to the one that I was using. So actually, it's making a different kind of mark than this one here. And that's the part that I love about this tutorial as well, because all the different types of tools that you can use from around the house, the bits and pieces that you might grab, they're all going to make a different type of mark. I'm going to go all the way around. You can start to see it pressing through there. It's really cool. Doing these lovely little triangles. And if I was to press lots in the same place, I'd start to get a bit of a thicker mark. So if I wanted to mirror what I had going on in the first place, maybe I'd, repeat it and increase the weight of the line that I was using, which means to increase the thickness of the line. There we go. How about that? I love that. It looks like a seal of approval. Okay, so I like the look of him. Now I might try and do an inversion of the mark making. So although it'll get a bit carbony on the tin, that's okay. I actually might try and draw his face on going the other way. So let's start with his nose, because that's the most central thing. Get a nice big shape. And I could give him a little wash afterwards to get all that carbon off. Oh yeah, that's cool. And get little eyebrows. And no matter how many times I did this, he'll always look different to his little sibling there, which I think is kind of cool. And do another eyebrow there. Fantastic. He's looking down. He's all humble about being the sun, so we'll do little droopy eyelids and nice smiley face. Oh, I love that. And I think I'll make his cheeks pop out. Let's clean him up a bit. There you go, my love. Give your face a wash. And then I might flip it over. Oh, that's great, isn't it? And do his little rosy cheeks here. Now, to do any surfaces in kind of like a solid block of punched tin, you just go over where you are lots of times, or you can use something that's really big to kind of make that shape, but you'd have to press very, very hard. So I tend to, if I want to kind of have a really, really raised effect that's in a large block shape, or I want to say block colour, but it's like a block area, I tend to kind of do the outline and then I fill it in loads and loads and loads with my pencil. Look at that, so cute. Really looking good and matching up with his twin there. And so now I would just need to make a smaller one to match that. And for this one, I've pushed very, very hard on these, and then I've kind of scrubbed away. I've done a bit of a reverse thing, and I'll show you how to do that here. You can really pronounce some of your dents in the tin by first doing your punch design on the reverse like this, and then when you flip it over, I do this thing where I kind of push down around the edge like that. And I will outline the dents that I've just done, and the impressions that I've just done, like that. That's great, huh? So you can see here, hopefully you guys can pick that up on the camera, these are much more subtle, and these are really, really crisp because I've gone and flattened it out. And the good thing about that too is you're kind of reversing the push that you've done in the first place. So it tends to level it out a bit more as well. So if I went all the way round, although this has a bit of a bend to it at the moment, it would get super flat again. Now you can do all sorts of designs with this kit. I've obviously done the sun one here, and I've got loads of celestial designs in the instructions, in the little templates that I put in for you guys. But what would you do? You could do some organic ones, you could do some really lovely like natural ones with leaves, or maybe some big palm leaves or something like that. You could do something really graphic with grids and lines or polka dots. Have a think about whether you would want one singular motif in the center, reaching right to the outsides, maybe like this one has done, or if you might like to have patterns that just covered in a kind of all over print, that could be really cool too. I've got a few examples I'd love to show you guys. I did a really big one here, like a kind of diamond shape, which I thought was really cool. I've done a cute little smiley sun. We've got some that have much more of those graphic shapes that I was talking about. One using lots of straight lines going off in different directions. And what I did with this one, I was using a ruler and I pushed down, and then I would kind of turn it over and push the other way. So reversing the way that I did the impressions each time to make it have all sorts of different contours to it in a really interesting way. When you press the tin in this way, it catches the light really, really effectively. And so you can actually create really interesting patterns just sometimes even by the side that you're pressing the tin on. You can use lettering or typography in your designs. So here I've done one that has got a T for Turner Contemporary, and I've mounted that onto some of the recycled card and used those cardboard shapes supplied in the pack, and just a piece of the string going through the center of the two, and then stuck them together using the double-sided sticky tape. Glue with a book on top of it is going to make it last a lot longer, but that sticky tape's really nice and quick. And done this whole layered looking charm that I think makes a really cute gift for someone. Like you could give that to someone in a box. They might look at my grubby fingers and be like, hey, Turner Contemporary, we love you. Here is a little token, quite literally, of our affection that we took some time to make for you. It's in the post, guys, it's in the post. And you could cut some shapes out of the tin and follow your the impression that you've done and actually use that to dictate what the shape is going to be. I used a little drill to punch through the card like that, so you could use that to wrap a present. And I went for some polka dots and made a really cool kind of all over design here, looking really sweet. And I've even gone and wrapped a badge which I made using a piece of cardboard, and you could use a safety pin and some glue, or even just a bit of that sticky tape. And I've wrapped a badge, and I've used my impression, and then I even got a permanent marker and coloured all of this in to make it look really creative and cool. And once again, love my little smiley stars. I did this onto one of the cardboard circles, and again stuck a safety pin onto the back to make a really cool little badge. I'll put that on me in a minute. There are some other things that you can get from the supermarket, and you might even have in your cupboard that work just as well as the pressed tin. But it's something that you're probably not going to expect. I managed to find this in my cupboard. How beautiful is that? A bit of gold, right? And you must be like, Zoe, where do you live? Are you in some mansion or something? Why do you have sheets of gold in your cupboard? Well, I'm willing to bet that you probably do have some of this as well, because this actually comes from this tomato puree from the supermarket. Something like 40 to 80 pence a tube. And if you use up all of your puree, because we don't want to be chucking anything in the bin, and you cut off the bottom and you cut off the top, you clear away all of the puree, because we don't really want to be trying to get that involved with the sticky tape, and roll it out. Look at that, isn't that amazing? The way that you can flatten out your tin if it starts to be indented, or if you're getting it from a recycled source like this, I love this so much, if you're getting it from a recycled source, you want to press it out, it will start off so wrinkly. Well, you can get things, anything sort of solid and flat, like, so many gems here, it's great. I've got my jam jar lid here. As long as it's got a nice flat surface, nothing that's going to catch the tin and tear it, you can use this to flatten out your tin. It does a really good job. Look at that. So lovely and pressed now. And if it starts to curl like that, all you need to do is just turn it over and flatten it on the other side as well. Some other places that you can get some of these lovely recycled things is, of course, from baking trays, those kind of disposable kinds, or from your mince pie tins. Like, how many of these are we going to go through this Christmas, right? It's lovely. These can be really easily cut out to use the bottom, or if you're very careful, you can actually unfold a lot of this and press it out. You might still get a bit of a dome shape. I wasn't able to get one like this completely flat, but you can get really far with it. And if you have some of those takeaway tins at home, you know, the kind that when you get your Indian food and it comes all lovely with a little paper lid, those foil trays are a lovely thickness to use for this kind of stuff as well. And you can see here from my designs that I was doing earlier that you can actually colour a lot of this metal as well into some lovely designs and really pick out the shapes that you've pressed into your tin. And just to really show you how that recycled metal and a bit of colouring in can look really fantastic, here's one I made earlier in true Blue Peter style of a little bird from the designs that were in the kit. I kind of supersized him, pressed into him a lot, and this is with this tomato puree, right? That's cool, huh? So I pressed into him, and then I picked out some of the details with a pen, put a tassel in the bottom, and I just think that that's super cute now already, apart from my grubby fingers, to perhaps hang in the doorway, put in a window, or send to someone as a really sweet little present in their card. I think that's really cute. Yeah, so what do you guys think? Do you have a favourite so far? Let me know in the chat. And of course, if you come up with any designs, they're going to be far superior to the ones that I supplied, so I want to see them. We're going to move on to our final craft, which is pom-pom making. So you're going to need a pair of scissors, like this. You're going to need some of your yarn. You're going to need your wooden pom-pom maker. How cool is this? This little wooden laser cut prong for your Margate Girl in the centre. Now we're going to use this to make our pom-poms. You can really gently wind your wool around the top of this, and that's what we're going to do today. So we're going to start by wrapping the end of our pom-pom prong. Love this thing. If you want a nice big 5 centimetre pom-pom, you're going to wrap this end, and this one down here does a nice sort of little 3 centimetre furler like this one. And at one point you are going to need a needle as well, so we'll grab this one to hand too. So I've got my needle, my scissors, and I've got my yarn and my pom-pom maker. So take the very tail end of your pom-pom yarn And you're going to hold it onto the prong like that, and we're going to start wrapping. I've just kind of kept the end. It doesn't matter if it's much longer, that's okay. Everything gets trimmed down to a very lovely, neat size. Ooh, here we go. And now we wrap. So we're going to wrap the pom-pom maker loads. Now, I've said, I think, to do about a 4.5 centimetre coverage of the pom-pom maker. Like I said, you can do less and you can join a few together, or you could do more. You just might find it a bit unwieldy to work with. But either way, you just go round and round and round, loads and loads. And you don't need to pull too tight either. We're just gently covering this thing with our wrapped yarn. So you want your pom-pom yarn to be covering the prong between sort of probably about 4 or 4.5 centimetres. And you want it about 2.5 centimetres high. So I'm going to kind of get a bit of height on this. And you can see me wrapping quite fast. You can see here that I've probably covered maybe about 3.5 centimetres. Just do a bit more either end, but it tends to kind of like fall off. And it's probably about 2.5 centimetres high. I'll just go a bit more in the middle to make this a super beefy pom-pom. Now I'm going to snip that away, keeping hold of it. And it's at this point that I'm going to need my needle and thread. I say thread, it's more of that pom-pom yarn, but put onto your needle that you get in the pack. And I'm going to use this to wrap the very centre of my pom-pom. I'm going to bind these middle section all together. It's like putting a little corset on the guy. Here we go, dropping this down. So I'm tying a lovely big knot round that. I'll just start myself off there, look. There we go. So I'm going to wrap this round and round, quite tight. I don't want to break my yarn, so I'm not going to pull it too much. Whoops, and it's actually scooting around. But I really, really want to get these. I might even go through the centre a little bit. I'm keeping one end off that way. You'll see why in a minute. Now, once you've wrapped it a little bit, it's got a corset, it's kind of got this cinched waist. I'm going to go in and out of the very centre of this pom-pom because the idea is to knot this thing up so much. I'm going to go in and out. Loads of places. All different angles. You might even want a little thimble for this. I tend to just push my needle down on the table when I need a thimble. Okay. And I'm going in and out using my yarn in all. It doesn't have to look pretty because no one's going to hopefully see the centre of this. If you've done enough on your pom-pom, they're definitely not. And we're going to go in and out in loads of different areas of our centre to really knot it up. I've doubled up here, look, I need to tug that out. There we go. In and out. And at some point, if you want to, you usually suggested to do this at the end, but you can slide, because you can see here it's kind of like difficult for me to get to all the parts. You can slide. This is why we don't wrap it too tight. We make sure it's loose enough that we can slide it off the prong by prong. So putting our prong to one side, and now we've got all the more room to go in and out, as many times as you like, because the objective really is to knot this up as much as you can. The more bound all of these threads are with all these kind of knotty little go-throughs, the less likely it is to come undone. And I've not had a pom-pom come undone on me yet, so I think that's testament to my relatively good knotting technique. All right, this clearly wants to end now because I've run out of yarn, which seems like a happy end for me. Now, again, I don't know, I just kind of really like that little shape if I pluff it all up. But we're not going to keep it like that. We're going to trim it down and cut. We're going back to this kind of like looped shape. Now we're going to cut through every single one of these loops to free them and make the little pom-pom strands that we know so well. There we go. So I'm cutting through every single one, and there'll be so many layers of them, and the further outside they are, the longer they're going to be, and the nearer the center, the shorter they're going to be. But don't worry about that. At this point, it's going to look like a hot mess, which is totally fine. I'm keeping that little strand free because I might like to use that to hang it or something like that. If you find that you don't have one in the end, that's okay, because you can definitely stitch back into your pom-pom with another bit of yarn if you need to. So I'm cutting through like so, and checking that there's no loops that I've missed. I don't think there are. Look at the chaos that comes off of this thing, it's great. I'm going to take the tail and I'm going to floof it all. Got loads of fibres coming off there. Floof is a technical term. It means to fluff, but with enthusiasm. So I'm going to give it a big floof. Checking again that there's no, oh, it's lovely. It feels like a little creature. And now I'm going to give my pom-pom a haircut. So I'm going to take my scissors, which hopefully are relatively sharp, and I'm going to start to trim them up. And generally making a big old mess, which I will swipe onto the floor in a minute. But we are making a lovely round shape. Now you can cut, you can see here at the bottom, they're really, really long, but you can cut really far into this thing and still have a very, very pom-pom looking shape. And what I tend to do is I move him around. I'll get like one really lovely curved side going on like this, and then I'll kind of making sure I'm not going to snip my bit of thread that I really want to keep. I might move that round and sort of pinch other bits and trim them up like that. Look at this, and it's starting to really take shape as quite a professional looking pom-pom. Now in the kit I've included 3 different colours of yarn, and they are all cotton. It's not the thing that's most frequently used for pom-poms. Well, it is more and more actually, but traditionally you'd usually use wool, which can be very, very expensive, and sometimes people can have allergic reactions to. Or you will get acrylic, which is the kind of stuff that you get a lot of cheap jumpers made with. It's a really kind of much more modern than some of the more natural fibres. But that's made from plastic, and a lot of the time when we're doing this sort of trimming, this is all going in the bin, and it's releasing a lot of fibres into the air as well. So you do want to do this probably outdoors or certainly over the bin. But I like to use as little plastic as I possibly can, and so in this kit I wanted to make sure that we all had some lovely, nice, natural yarn to work with. It cost a little bit more, but it was such a treat to pack all of those kits with that cotton yarn. So I hope you like the results, and I love how fluffy it gets. You wouldn't believe this was cotton, would you? It just really does look like a fluffy wool. Okay. If I wanted to make my pom-pom extra big, I could join it to another one. Before I did all my trimming, if I wedged the 2 together and stitched in and out, I would have an even bigger mass to work with. So that's up to you. And you can see here with this one, I've used 2 or 3 different yarns together to make this fluff everywhere. This is kind of like this. I've used a couple of different colours together to do this very, very fluffy ball that I've still yet to trim. He's going to the salon in a minute. You could make a small one and a big one, and you could pair them together, threading a bit of yarn onto a needle and stitching a loop of ribbon into the top, or you could stitch a tassel to the bottom and make something lovely like this, and all together building your charms in lots of different ways, maybe making miniature versions of some of the origami pieces and pairing them with one of the pom-poms, and then a bit of tin on it as well. These can make really, really well constructed chains or lengths of charm that, if you ask me, make really, really super sweet little boxed gifts for people, or badges or earrings. I nearly made myself a really crazy pair of earrings for tonight, but I didn't do it, so maybe you guys can help me out with doing a bit of that on another day. And if you find that you run out of your yarn, don't panic, because there are tons of things that you can probably find around your house that you can use to make some of this yarn as well. This is a pom-pom that I made earlier using cord that you might find if you were into doing any kind of sewing for upholstery, or you could wrap a load of cord that you get with a kind of old pair of blinds that's going in the bin, or even shoelaces. It's that kind of like spun, woven length of rope. You could use string to make yours. Loads of stuff fluffs up in a way that you really wouldn't expect. And you could even unwind an old jumper if you find that your old novelty jumper that your nan knitted for you doesn't fit you anymore and it's a bit moth-eaten or something like that. Try unraveling that and winding that round the pom-pom and see how you get on. And here I've even made some yarn by cutting up an old t-shirt into loads of strips, going round in a big spiral. You can see the little kinks there, but they'll get lost in a pom-pom, and I can use this to wrap round and round and round and do the same technique. Creating all sorts of wonderful things that again will be so cool to use as things like key rings on your body if you want to wear them, or even if you want to decorate some of your presents and your parcels that you're going to give to other people. They look really cute and cool around your house as well, so I'd recommend using pom-poms everywhere that you can. Okay, I hope you guys have enjoyed tonight. I have really loved being this festive, getting all dressed up and making some beautiful stuff that's now going to go on my tree. And if you think of any more inventive ways to use the kits, you've got to let me know. Over on social media, you can tag Turner Contemporary in some of your makes and give us some good ideas. I'd love to share them on my Instagram, and I'm super impressed with you guys and the response that there has been to the kits. It's really special. It's encouraged me to do even more, and I just know that there's like nearly 200 of these things have gone out everywhere. People are going to be making the most out of what they have, and I think that is really the true spirit of Christmas. So thanks for joining in. Hope you've enjoyed our winter workshop. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe on the box now, because it gives a company and an institution like Turner Contemporary some really needed and well-deserved support at a time when galleries and museums and these kind of charitable spaces that bring culture and art to all communities, and I don't know anywhere more accessible than Turner Contemporary, it brings it to the people that need it the most and really does amazing and incredible things for a small seaside town like Margate. So whether you're from Margate or whether you're from somewhere else in the UK, hit like and subscribe on the screen now, and leave a few comments or tell Turner Contemporary what a good job they've done this Christmas of making you feel a bit more festive. We really appreciate all the support that you guys have given us, and we can't wait to see you back on social media sharing all the fantastic things you've made. If you know anyone that would like a kit, you know where to find them. And other than that, I'm going to leave you guys to get on with making some beautiful things. Well done for joining in, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday night. I look forward to seeing you soon.